Chicago, 1920, the most American of cities. Jazz, steel, ambition, and a thirst that the government had just made illegal. Brooklyn, New York, 1899. Alphonse Gabriel Capone was born into a world of Italian immigrants, tenement buildings, and the understanding that America's promise was not equally distributed. He was bright. Teachers noted his intelligence. But the streets of Brooklyn offered a different education, one the classroom could not compete with. He left school at 14. The 5 Points Gang, Johnny Torrio's organization. The Brooklyn underworld recognized intelligence and potential. They found it in Capone at 16. He worked legitimate jobs too, bartender at the Harvard and on Coney Island. It was here he made the remark that earned him his scars. He complimented a woman. Her brother took offense. Frank Galucio slashed him 3 times with a knife. Capone carried those scars for life. He hated them. In every photograph, he turned his right side to the camera. He told people he got them in the war. He married May Coughlin in 1918. Had a son, Albert Jr. The legitimate life ended. Chicago, 1919. Capone stepped off the train at 20 with $30 and an invitation from Torrio. Within 5 years, he would run the most powerful criminal organization in American history. January 17, 1920. The 18th Amendment. Prohibition. The government made alcohol illegal. The greatest business opportunity in criminal history. Torrio and Capone were perfectly positioned. Torrio's organization already ran the South Side. Brothels, gambling houses. Prohibition turned speakeasies and bootlegging into an empire, generating $60 million a year in 1920s money. Capone learned fast. The speakeasy became the beating heart of Prohibition America. Jazz born in public, the line between legal and illegal irrelevant. Capone's organization made its fortune one illegal drink at a time. January 1925. The Jennas tried to kill Torrio. They nearly succeeded. In the hospital, Torrio handed everything to Capone. The organization, territories, fortune, then retired to Italy. At 26, Capone ran everything. Al Capone, the boss, broad-shouldered, fedora low, cigar in hand, diamond stickpin gleaming. He dressed like a millionaire because he was one. Controlled Chicago like no single individual before. Police on payroll, judges on payroll, politicians on payroll. The city's corruption was not a secret. It was an operating system, and Capone its administrator. The 4 Deuces at 2222 South Wabash. Bar on ground floor, gambling second, brothel above, office atop. The building was the organization made architectural. Bootlegging was industrial, breweries, distilleries, trucking fleets across the Midwest. Chicago was divided. North Side Gang under Hemi Weiss, later Bugs Moran. Boundary written in bullet holes and blood. This was Capone's Chicago. Jazz and gin, diamond rings and Tommy guns. A city living at the edge of its own laws, wanting what government said it couldn't have. Capone was happy to provide it. The Lexington Hotel on Michigan Avenue. Entire floor suite, 50 rooms, armored door, secret tunnel. Gangster as hotelier. Custom pinstripe suits, $10,000 diamond ring. Fedora shadowing the scars. He understood power required performance. Open soup kitchens in the Depression fed thousands. Newspapers called him folk hero, the man government couldn't stop who fed the people it failed. Gang war constant. Drive-by shootings so common they stopped being news unless body count exceptional. Over 200 gangsters killed 1923-1926. Hemi Weiss assassinated on Holy Name Cathedral steps. Capone sent flowers to the funeral. He even called a peace conference, formal speeches, territorial agreements in a hotel room. Wanted stability. Violence bad for business. It lasted briefly, very briefly. Palm Island Mansion in Miami, 14 rooms, swimming pool, boathouse, legendary parties. Celebrity in Florida signing autographs. Sun-drenched contrast to cold Chicago empire. 1928 Pineapple Primary. Grenades thrown, homes bombed, machine gunners at polls. Democracy as performance in a city Capone owned. He understood the press before most businessmen, gave interviews, cultivated reporters, controlled the narrative as carefully as the streets. The Thompson submachine gun, the Chicago piano, 800 rounds per minute. Capone's organization bought them legally or otherwise. Sound of 1920 Chicago was jazz in this. Retaliation after retaliation. Beer wars ground on. Each killing demanded response. Cycle profitable for undertakers. Yet he loved opera genuinely. Attended every production at Chicago Lyric. Wept at Verdi. Discussed Puccini intelligently. Man who ordered murders cried at La Traviata. The contradiction at Capone's center. Organization was a corporation. Thousands of employees, divisions for bootlegging, gambling, prostitution, transport, enforcement, accounting, legitimate fronts for laundering. Most sophisticated criminal enterprise America ever saw. Treasury sent Eliot, Ness, and the Untouchables. Young, incorruptible. They raided breweries, destroyed equipment, hurt operations, but Capone had too many. Not how he would fall. Quiet IRS agent Frank Wilson followed the money through labyrinth of fronts and corrupt banks. Millions earned, not a single tax return filed. Capone never paid $1 in income tax. He knew he was watched. Lawyers filed motions. Men followed investigators. No weakness. IRS couldn't be bought. Evidence was in the numbers. June 1931 federal indictment. 22 counts of tax evasion. Not murder. Not bootlegging. Not corruption. Tax evasion. Most powerful gangster in history brought down by accounting. February 14, 1929. St. Valentine's Day. Defined gangster era and began Capone's end. 2122 North Clark Street. SMC Cartage Garage in Bugs Moran's territory. 7 of Moran's men there for whiskey delivery. Capone's killers, 2 in police uniforms, arrived. Men lined up against wall, hands up, thinking arrested. 70 rounds fired. 7 dead. Bodies arranged against wall. Killers drove away in police car. Real officer waved them through. Perfect crime, except it destroyed Capone. Nation horrified. Valentine's Day defiled. Public opinion turned. Folk hero died in that garage. President Hoover made it personal. Get Capone. Full federal machinery aimed at one man. Prosecution built case 3 years. Capone's lawyers, best money could buy, tried buying jurors, intimidating witnesses. Judge swapped jury last minute. October 1931 federal courtroom. Capone sat in defendant's chair. First time, not most powerful person in room. Guilty on 5 counts. 11 years, $80,000 fines. Crowds outside courthouse cheered and wept. Chicago divided. Bootleg liquor flowed on without him. Atlanta, then Alcatraz, The Rock. Prisoner 85, 5x9 cell. Empire reduced to 45 square feet. Played harmonica in prison band. The Rock 4. Most powerful man in American crime now, just a number. Syphilis contracted young, untreated, became neurosyphilis on Alcatraz. Mind deteriorated, behavior erratic. Sharpest criminal mind, slowly consumed by disease, carried 20 years. Released November 1939 after 7.5 years. Early, due to mental decline. 40 years old, but looked much older. Man who walked out, not man who walked in. Retired to Palm Island. Fished. Hosted small dinners. Sat in sun. On good days himself. On bad days, mind decade and past. Still running speakeasies that no longer existed. January 25th, 1947. Died in own bed at Palm Island. Stroke, then pneumonia. 48 years old. Surrounded by May, son, siblings. Died quietly as he seldom lived. Obituaries extraordinary. Most dangerous man in history. Folk hero. Symptom of prohibition, poverty, immigrant experience, American dream taken to logical extreme. All right, none wrong. December 1933, Prohibition repealed while Capone in Alcatraz. Law that made him rich now gone. Irony not lost. Organization became template for every syndicate after. Multiple revenue streams, political corruption as business cost, legitimate fronts, violence last resort. He industrialized crime. Hollywood immortalized him. Scarface 1932, while still imprisoned, created gangster genre. Every film since O's death. Fedora became cultural icon, shorthand for era. Alcatraz now museum. 2 million tourists yearly photograph, sell 85. Chicago tours still stop at 4 Deuces spot. Capone represents unresolved American contradiction. Promise to immigrants, barriers placed, bootstrap mythology when legitimate paths blocked. Supplied what people wanted when government said no. Folk hero to some, monster to others. Symptom of Prohibition's failure to all. Jazz age needed someone like him. Decade decided to drink despite law, dance despite war shadows. He supplied drink, provided venue. He was its shadow. Cell 85 empty now, museum piece. Thousands peer through bars at San Francisco Bayview that tortured him. They try to imagine. They cannot. Question permanent. Monster? Yes. Product of time? Yes. Symptom of system failure? Yes. Folk hero to those system failed? Yes. All true simultaneously. That is Capone problem. Chicago remains. Art Deco towers he knew still stand among taller successors. River he crossed 1,000 times flows on. City that was his, briefly, impossibly, spectacularly, continues without him. Story never about one person. Needed Torrio to teach, Prohibition to enrich, corrupt Chicago to protect, depression to make folk hero, IRS to bring down. Story of Al Capone is story of America in 1920s. 7 men died in garage. Peter Gussenberg, Frank Gussenberg, Albert Kachalek, Adam Heyer, Reinhard Schwimmer, John May, Albert Weinshank. Gangsters, fathers, brothers, sons. Murdered Valentine's Day. No one convicted. Frank Wilson, actual hero. IRS agent spent 3 years in windowless office following money. Built case that worked. Never in Hollywood film. Kevin Costner never played him. Capone wept at opera. Devoted father. Fed poor. Capable genuine loyalty. None excuses murders ordered. Soup Kitchen did not balance Valentine's Day. But humanity real. Monster was man. More disturbing than simple monster. Speakeasy accidentally democratic. Class lines dissolved when all breaking law. Black and white musicians played together when segregation ruled elsewhere. Women drank as equals. Illegal space created social freedom, legal world denied. Greek tragedy carried fatal flaw from beginning. Untreated syphilis. Waited patiently while he ran Chicago. Then took everything IRS left. Organization continued. Frank Nitti, Paul Ricca, Tony Accardo. Chicago outfit operated decades after. Corporation outlasted founder. Templates still used worldwide. Multiple streams, corruption as investment, legitimate business as laundry, violence last resort. He industrialized crime. Industry never went back. Fedora low over right, hiding scars became emblem. Shorthand for era. Put fedora on figure. Cultural message immediate. He gave hat permanent meaning. Garage gone. Parking lot now. Small historical marker. Occasional flowers. 7 men largely forgotten except data point in Capone's story. On injustice. Mount Olivet Cemetery. Headstone. My Jesus mercy. Raised Catholic. Remained Catholic. Priest heard confessions. Secrets IRS could never touch. Chicago never decided how to feel. Tours profit from him. Museums display artifacts. Restaurants trade on name. Officials uncomfortable celebrating. Pride and shame occupy same street corner. City big enough for both. At peak ran Chicago. 60 million yearly. Most powerful criminal in history. Within him, Brooklyn tenement, bacteria, prison cell, Palm Island deck chair where old man fish trying to remember city he once owned. 3 scars from Brooklyn bar knife fight at 17. Carried to grave at 48. Hated them. Made him more recognizable than anything. Frank Gallucio, who gave scars, later worked for Capone as bodyguard. Only in America. Music Capone's speakeasies hosted. Needed no criminal to be extraordinary. Continued long after man and empire gone. Music outlasted everything. Accounting of life, only format that brought him down. Income, criminal enterprise, 60 million. Folk heroism immeasurable, cultural legacy permanent. Expenditure, murder minimum 7 orders, corruption entire city, personal health everything. Net, prison 7.5 years, freedom 8 years after, legacy unresolved. Most glamorous criminal in history brought down by tax return never filed. He ran Chicago. Chicago outlasted him. The jazz never stopped.